ISM Raceway, over the past few decades, has been known for not just its hot temperatures in the air, but its flaring tempers on the pavement. Hopes of victory and championship glory have been built up and smashed at the blink of an eye at this facility. Tonight, the Precision Racing League Cup Series heads into its pre-ultimate race of the season. Who will take home the checkered flag under the desert sun, and whose equipment will crumble from the pressure and the heat? We're about to find out here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Good evening and welcome to the virtual ISM Raceway in Avondale, Arizona for the 9th race of the Precision Racing League Cup Series season. I'm Justin Prince, alongside the booth tonight is Christian Schauner, and behind the scenes is our director Sean Ambrose. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Now Christian, we're entering the home stretch for Season 4 with just 2 races to go. Tonight though will feature the final short track on the schedule. What can you tell us about ISM Raceway?
Well, ISM's a very flat mile-long track with very long corners, and tonight at least we've got the high-power car, so that should make things a little bit interesting. And we'll be doing 105 laps here tonight, all 1 hour, whichever comes up first.
Should be an interesting one indeed, Christian. But let's send it over to our GSRC lap guide to see how the best way to get around this track is for tonight.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Global SimRacing Channel. My name is Brian Yazik and I'll be taking you for a spin around Phoenix International Raceway. Phoenix is a fun little flat 1 mile oval. It takes a lot of skill and a lot of patience to navigate this track successfully. Going into turn 1 on your first lap, you're going to hit the brakes right about on that second cone mark. Try to find either the bottom or the middle right here. Get back into the gas, but not too quick, because if you get back up, they're going to plow up into the fence. Now with Phoenix, when they repaved the track, they left this dogleg all wide open. You're going to see guys all over that. Turn 3, once again, find it. You're waiting for the car to roll, and then you're going to roll back into the throttle like there's an egg underneath the gas pedal. Going to get back off the corner. If you do it too quick, you will get a little loose, just like I did right there. Once again, down into turn 1, hit the brakes right about on that second cone from the wall, find that yellow line, and here you can actually hook it and go straight through the open dogleg, but be careful because it's very slick down there. There's no banking to catch the car. Back into turn 3, you're looking to find the yellow line, get out of the gas, ease back into it, ease it, and then once you find the right mark, swing it right out here to the fence, and you completed a lap around the Phoenix International Raceway. It's a driver favorite, fan favorite, and more importantly, it's going to be a great show for today. My name is Brian Yazik, and this was a lap around the Phoenix International Raceway.
That's a look at your GSRC lap guide for the best way to get around this facility. Tonight, though, let's take a look at the championship standings. First for the Drivers' Championship, where tonight Bradley Holly has a chance to secure the Season 4 title. All he needs to do is make the start tonight with a 43-point lead in the standings and 6 W's on the campaign. Rob Haynes enters tonight second, with Charles Subner, Colton Lane, and Paul Williams rounding out the top 5. Rachel Hunt, one of the fastest drivers in practice, will be looking to build on the second win of the season, or had a win at Talladega earlier in the campaign, comes into night 6. Frank Peacock, Jose Tellez, and Adam Zemke and Eric Roberts round out the top 10 for the driver standings. For the team standings, Whataback Racing's drivers have been looking strong, especially on the Fun Center side of the garage, with 7 combined victories and 14 top 10s. They also have the most poles and the team standings lead over Redline Racing. Whataback Ramrod is third in the standings with 506 total points. Team 24/7 is in 4th, with Hard Knocks West rounding out the top 5. Hard Knocks North, Team Zero Racing, Hard Knocks South, and JRS Motorsports round out the driver standings, for the team standings rather, with the respective drivers. Now Christian, let's take a look at the race details as we enter the second last race of the season.
Yep, we got another short track and 17-point incident cap, and we saw that was quite an issue for some drivers at the Martinsville round, so we'll have to see if that becomes a factor here as well. A little bit of a smaller field compared with that race though, so hopefully we'll have a bit more green flag running. Fixed setup as always, and we do have 1 green-white checkered.
It should be an interesting one indeed, especially with that 105 lap distance. Remember, it is a 1 hour time limit for this series. Before we get to discussing what to expect for tonight, including the driving lines and the stories, I'd like to remind you that the Global SimRacing Channel now has its own merchandise store. Fans and supporters of GSRC can now buy such things as a beanie hat that can help you see the thoughts of competitors on the racetrack. Yes, with a push of a microscopic button, you can instantly see any thinking patterns and words in front of your eyes while you battle for position on the track. For more details on items such as the magical thought-reading beanie, visit gsrc.store.nvy.com. Note, may or may not exist that specific button may be hidden inside the letters. And let's talk about the letters of what to watch for tonight. Starting, of course, with the driving on this circuit. We were talking about this before today's race tonight. It could be a tough one and a very track position key event.
Yeah, exceptionally difficult to pass at this racetrack as always. It's kind of always been that way, even more so now with the high downforce car. But I think track position is going to be key, especially if we get early yellows. We're going to have to watch out for what people do with maybe 2 tires, no tires, and whether 4 tires is actually worth doing.
Yeah, that's going to be something to watch for tonight. But of course at this racetrack, right now the track temperature 97 degrees Fahrenheit. It's been swinging between that and as low as 95 throughout practice this evening since the drivers jumped into session 10 a.m. local time. Green flag is set for 1 p.m. local with partly cloudy skies, 81 degrees Fahrenheit the air temp, with a little tiny bit of wind from the north with some high humidity on this racetrack. Usually at a lot of circuits you'd be thinking that's a lot of grip. However, this is Phoenix, and at Phoenix a lot of the drivers have been struggling so much with the grip a little bit they've been pushing tight and nearly palming into the walls.
Yeah, this is one of those strange tracks where there's just not a lot of feeling from the surface. It's always felt very, very smooth around here, especially in the 3 and 4 end of the track, and it kind of just it makes it difficult to get a good gauge on how much grip there actually is. And coming off of 4, we tend to see people having moments with the rear stepping out just unexpectedly, and like you were saying, we also see in 1 and 2 where people maybe get in the corner a little bit hot and get loose, or on exit they get really tight and get close to the wall, and it can create a lot of stack-ups, especially on restarts.
And we're seeing some of the drivers actually practice the restarts before starting qualifying here. And you can see some of that coming into fruition. What many of the drivers seen throughout the week here, Christian, was that top line, especially out of 3 and 4. Mind you, this is the pre-2018 start and finish line repositioning, where drivers have been able to get the most of the speed and make passes.
Yeah, and I feel like that really comes from the downforce package of the car. Just being so momentum-based now that you kind of can defend really, really well using the top of the racetrack, and especially so coming off of 4 here. It's always been that way a little bit, but I feel like the balance is tipped even more so now.
Now, of course, we talked about the strong season so far for Holly. He's second in the practice sheet so far, behind Rachel Hunt. Danny Cervantes is in third. Brandon Walter, Brendan Chatley round out the top 5. The pace separation just by a couple tenths of a second in terms of the fastest laps. But tire wear could be crucial throughout this entire event if we get a long run.
Yeah, definitely so. I've seen a couple of times in the past where guys who've been very, very strong on short runs have tended to actually fade quite badly on the long. So be interesting to see if some of those faster practice times kind of translate through in a race pace.
Drivers all set to go for qualifying now, though, as we'll see which drivers jump on. It is a 97-degree racetrack, but with the partly cloudy skies, we may see some drivers elect to wait a little bit. 2 things to note, though, before we begin tonight's qualifying session. Mark Kaplan not going to be able to compete tonight, as part due to reaching the caution points cap, 3 points in 5 races. We also see Adam Zemke have to start from the back, not allowed to qualify due to 2 caution points from previous events. He will start from the rear for tonight's race. First drivers that are on the track here for qualifying. Brandon Walters, the first driver, Christian.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if that kind of cooling off effect that we do sometimes see in qualifying comes into play here. I'm not really sure whether this track is going to get hotter or cooler. We do sometimes see that, say, the 12:50 sort of sim time that we're at now, it actually keeps increasing in temperature up until about maybe 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So I feel like for this session, it's kind of nobody knows, and it'll be interesting to see whether going early or going late is actually the quickest here.
Right now, there's about 6 or 7 drivers on the racetrack. First time is in from Walter, however. It's 3/10 off his fastest practice attempt. 25.734 for the 99 machine of Brandon Walter, as the inline 309 machine tries to run the bottom line of 3 and 4. We'll see if he can pick up more time on his second lap. Coming to the stripe. Yes, he does pick up an extra temp at 25.6.
Yeah, and I think what that was there was he went out on that first lap and probably getting down into 1. Maybe there was a bit more grip than he thought there would be there. And then you kind of carry that penalty all the way around the lap. And so that's why he's able to go a little bit quicker on his second time.
Now following along with Rob Haynes, meanwhile, who just bumped him on his first lap attempt. A 25.561 puts him on the tentative pole. It looks like Haynes is happy, though, with that attempt. He is among the other drivers currently getting to the circuit. Charles Sumner, Mike Richter, and Zemke. He is not supposed to be on the track for qualifying, so we'll have to see what is decided upon here for the 21. Again, it's supposed to be a start at the back for the 21. Track position, as we talked about, though, Christian, could be a major key. It could be tough for him to come from the back tonight.
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to be one to watch. We've seen him come from deep in the field before, and I'm wondering if maybe, even though he's not going to be allowed to start in his qualifying position, maybe he's just doing this to get himself a good pit stall, and they'll give him an EOL before the race starts.
That's probably the thought process, because the thing is with that pit lane, there is that the last part of the lane, that's where it curves into the start of turn 1, and that part of the pit lane could be an advantage that can pick you up a spot or two, depending on how you enter the pit box.
Yeah, that's absolutely a factor at this track and all tracks that have that curved pit road. It's difficult actually to spot the box if you're on that curve, but because you can cut through them and cut through them on exit, there is definitely an advantage to be gained by having one of those stalls.
Looking at Nicholas Hunter on your screen, he was the slowest in practice, not having a good stoppage with a 26.3. That is the slowest in qualifying at the moment, but still a lot of drivers went to the dead of the session. There is a little bit more shade on the track compared to when qualifying started, and guys such as Chatley are now trying to take advantage so they can get their lap in time onto the board.
Yeah, and even 1 degree does make a difference, so I can really understand why guys are going for this. I'm assuming a couple of them are going to have maybe practiced before and sort of know what the pattern is, because there is a pattern, and if you're prepared to spend the time, you can find it.
Chatley, I should correct myself, was just finishing second lap there, but we do see some of the others, such as Rachel Hunt, working the way around the racetrack, 9th on the first lap. That is half a second slower than her practice time. Second lap attempt goes up a tenth, though, and that's how close qualifying has been so far. Shoots her up from the edge of the top 10 up to 3rd on the qualifying board with a couple drivers to go.
Yeah, and 6 within the first 10th as well.
Now following along with one of the other drivers in Barron Hilton. The second laps have been picking up speed a majority of the drivers. For Hilton, it does not. 2/10 off this time. The drivers, though, out of time if they have not gone on the racetrack to record official times. Guys like Dan Mclaren currently practicing and pulling towards the garage area, because we're just about set to go for the starting grid for tonight's PRL Cup Series event from ISM Raceway. As the drivers make their way to the grid, let's take a look at how they'll start for tonight's race. 18 drivers, with Rob Haynes leading them to the green flag with a 25.561. Just 7 1/1000ths of a second for the pole over Brendan Chatley to round out the front row. Rachel Hunt will start 3rd, with Bradley Hawley in 4th position. He was 2nd quickest in practice. Danny Cervantes starts in 5th with Mike Richter in 6th. Barron Hilton and Eric Roberts start in row number 4. With Jose Tellez and Brandon Walter, the first driver out for qualifying, will start from number 10.
Then we got David Dreckman a little bit further back with a 25.8 in 11th. Adam Zamke did qualify. We're going to be unsure as to see whether he'll start in that 12th position. Dan Mclaren and Nicholas Hunter are the only 2 guys who did still put a time in. And then we'll have Charles Sumner, Robert Viso Jr., Pat Harvey, and Frank Peacock rounding out the back of the grid.
Should note again, the 62 car currently listed for an 18th place start, and Mark Hillen not going to be able to make the start tonight due to a caution point penalty at the end of longest line penalty just given to Adam Zemke for tonight's race. He will start in P number 18. That's a look at your starting grid for tonight's race. And the drivers getting all set to go here. ISM Raceway, a very interesting track. Again, to note, this is prior to the start and finish line being moved to the exit of what is currently, for this layout, turns 1 and 2. But essentially, the banking about 8 to 9 degrees. He's in the far part of the track in turns 3 and 4. For tonight's race, 10 to 11 degrees in turns 1 and 2. What are you keeping an eye for tonight's race?
Definitely focusing on the restarts. As we were saying, track position here is king, and even with the start being not as it is in real life, so roundabout on the backstretch for where real life is now, we still see those big fanning out, especially as you get to the dogleg. So they're definitely going to be watching for that. We saw at Martinsville a couple of these guys, they struggled a little bit on the restarts, and there was a couple of incidents. Hopefully a wider track and wider corners is going to maybe move us away from that a little bit tonight, but I certainly think the restarts will probably be a flashpoint and exciting.
Yeah, especially with the potential craziness, especially into the dogleg, into turn 3. Cars are now making their way towards that said dogleg for their 1 pit lap. There is 1 expected pit stop, and if this race goes green, the fuel mileage, about 75 laps the maximum for these Cup cars this evening as they get ready to go racing. Again, Rob Haynes in control of the field and the ETC Chevrolet. Keep an eye on and see where he decides to start the field. The restart zone, one of the deeper ones in all of iRacing for the short tracks. Midway towards the start and finish line, down the front straightaway. Pace car is off the circuit. Green flag is waving. Rob Haynes and the rest of the field is underway. We're racing at ISM Raceway.
Haynes held him for a long time there. Doesn't look like he's actually going to come out ahead, coming off a 2.
And that top line, able to carry some more speed at the moment, is Chatley. Coming into turn 3. Big break. Holly goes up the hill to avoid the 59. Still fighting on the inside is Haynes, but the outside momentum helps Brendan Chatley. He leads lap number 1 for the PRL Cup Series at Phoenix.
He was very aggressive there, but it really paid off for him. As we were saying, the track position is critical around here, so getting the lead early on is really a huge deal for him.
Yeah, a good jump on the start, a good power on the outside. And now he's got the clean air. Haynes trying to run about a half line up. Trying to diamond a slight touch. Got a bit of a bobble in the 2nd position. Rachel Hunt up to 3rd. Holly is still in 4th. Cervantes up to the 5th position as they complete the 2nd lap here. There's a lot of things to keep an eye though here, Christian, especially how these drivers react to the dirty air. Because there's the chance that these cars could get very tight with a very tight setup such as this fixed setup tonight.
Yeah, and I think that's why we see everybody being so aggressive really early on, as we see Holly made a little bit of a mistake there. Cervantes has got to his inside going into 1.
And that mistake sees Holly try and brake hard on the entry to turn number 1. Cervantes trying to power through the dogleg. Side by side heading into turn number 3. Can Holly try and defend, try and pinch down the 25? No. He's going to brake a bit early. Snow now tries to pinch on the corner exit. Still side by side.
And right there we saw what we were talking about pre-race with that top line being a really good defensive line. Holly's able to hold on the top and might actually even clear him before we get to 3 here.
Holly comes down and hits Cervantes on the right front. Cervantes able to save it, tries to charge back, can't get to the back bumper as he nearly hits the outside wall. I don't think Holly meant to hit him there, especially on his own quarter panel, but that was close.
Yeah, that looked like Holly thought he was clear a lot earlier than he actually was, and Cervantes looked pretty unhappy about that move, especially so early on. And yeah, that'll be interesting if Cervantes is near him again later in the race. There might be a little bit of payback there.
Have to definitely keep an eye on that one. Again, that was the battle for 4. Now for P14, however, it is one of the more active battles because Zemke, remember, had to start from the back of the field, is trying to move forward, still battling hard with Pat Harvey. Harvey, though, outbreaks him into turn 1, riding that high line.
Yeah, we see how he's able to defend against that, but Zemke hasn't really gone anywhere since starting right at the back, and it'll be interesting to see if longer into the run helps him or hurts him. As we were saying, the tire wear and how people treat their tires here is kind of an interesting deal. The drop-off is quite abrupt to start with, and then becomes quite shallow towards the end of the run.
Some drivers seen as much as 2 seconds of fall off from the start of the run to the end of the run, depending on the setup, could be as high as 3 seconds for some of the competitors. But currently the top 3 all underneath the blanket, all in the same time code. 3/10 already fallen off by this group of drivers. Rachel Hunt trying to find a line. Rob Haynes still following the tire tracks of Chatley.
Yeah, we see Hunt drove in a 1 there pretty deep and just washed up in the middle, lost a couple of car lengths there, and we can kind of see everybody's looking like they're struggling a little bit with that aero push already, even this early into the race. The gaps are just elongating a little bit, and everybody's struggling to kind of get the car turned.
Falling on board with Rob Haynes as he tries to combat that. How would you try and combat the tightness in the dirty air to try and gain time and try and find a pass?
Well, the tricky thing is that you kind of have to be on a bit of a different line. So you can try diamonding the corners a little bit, especially on exits, to get the good run off and be close to them. But I find that generally that can hurt you, because with the diamond lines, you're having to put a bit more load on the tires, and especially if you start to slide the rears, it can be a short-term gain and a really big long-term loss.
See what Rob Haynes does this time in turn 3 and 4. Takes the middle, trying to cut to the bottom side. He did pick up some time off turn 1 last time by. Chatley, though, still uses the air to his advantage. Still leads by about a car length and a half or so. Should note that 4th and 5th are now catching up to these group of cars, because Bradley Hawley was the fastest car on the racetrack. That's that blue car you see in the backdrop. Your championship leader is slowly closing into the rest of the top 3.
Yeah, and Hawley doesn't really look like he's got a huge amount of short run speed, but it looks like longer run he might have the better of these guys. He is just slowly closing them back down.
You have to wonder that's by design, especially maybe saving the tires and trying to hope that will make up the difference.
Right, I mean, if you know that you don't have the short run pace, you might as well go for trying to do something different. But I don't know if Cervantes is going to give him the opportunity to kind of keep riding here. I think he's going to try and force a move on Hawley if Hawley doesn't progress.
This time by those two drivers were matched up in time. Everybody within a 1/10 of a second inside the top 5. As it looks like right now Chatley struggling a little bit with some tightness in the ultimate racing machine at the front of the field. However, the rest of the drivers doing the same thing already, coming to the start of lap 15, 91 laps to go this time by. Already having a quickly run pace event so far as you look from the back end of your race leader.
Yeah, and as we were saying a little bit in pre-race, you can have the scenario where you've got a slower car ahead, but because of the aero push and because of how hard it is to pass at this racetrack, we can see that Chatley isn't, I mean, he's under threat. He's got cars in close proximity to him, but he's not having any moves put on him yet. It just looks like Haynes can't really find a line to actually get a quarter on him.
He's trying to run that bottom line still a little bit more, and that 29 machine just can't get the run quite yet. It's similar to what we've seen in real life today. About 2 car lengths, that's where the car starts to get a little bit tight. However, it seems Chatley knows that the rest of the drivers need to get up to that middle line to try and get a pass done. A majority of the passes, Christian, throughout the weekend, races such as in the NASCAR iRacing Series, the official endurance sort of races for NASCAR, for the Cup cars, the top line was the way to pass.
Yeah, and we've seen that actually in the Peak Series in the past as well, that it's really difficult.
Car is wrecking, trouble. Caution flag is out, it's David Dreckman. First caution flag of the race, just 17 laps in, as this was in the entrance to turn number 1 after contact with Robert Bichon Jr. in the 97, who hit him in the left rear. And you'll see that here on the GSRC replay here, Christian.
Yeah, it comes from a long way back, but I guess he just thought that maybe there'd be a lane there open for him, and I feel like we're going to see this a lot with how we're saying how hard it is to pass, and guys are getting a little bit impatient. Maybe if you're stuck behind someone for a long time, and you're gonna get more and more aggressive with your moves, and things like this are going to happen.
And with that, brings out the first caution flag of the race. He does avoid damage, Dreckman does, but he will lose all his track position due to that spin in his 33 machine as everyone comes down the pit lane. Already 18 laps in the event, coming in towards lap number 19 here. Have to see what the strategy is going to be. It's going to be interesting here, Christian, if we get, say, a 5 to 10 lap run. Right now, taking 2, good luck.
Yeah, I definitely think that if we do see a lot of short runs, say 5 to 10 laps, that 2 tires definitely becomes viable. I feel like even this long is Holly's
trouble.
missed his stall.
Holly has missed it big time in the 184 machine. He has already secured the championship, but this is not good for the overall race today. He will lose 3-4 seconds. He missed it by a large margin.
See, now that's a scenario where I'm actually surprised he didn't change it up in the box there and only take 2, because he's going to lose so much track position here. It's going to be so hard for him to pass these guys.
And he is still in the pit box, in fact, right now. Finally gets back going. Second to last, only Bashad Jr. is the only driver, along with Nicholas Hunter behind him. But Chatley is the first one who came out of the pit lane. Rob Haynes is in second. Rachel Hunt came out in third. Cervantes is up to fourth, with Mike Richter quietly inside the top 5. As the drivers line up behind the pace car, one thing we should note, Frank Peacock did miss the start due to a technical issue prior to the green flag. He is still in the garage area. 17 cars are still running on this circuit. It's been a decent race so far, though, Christian.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of guys being really sensible and not really any overly aggressive passes. We've only had 1 caution, which is pretty good, and there's been some good racing out there. And for me, the interesting thing on this restart is going to be whether Chatley can get a good pull and retain the lead, because as we saw on the initial start, Haynes had the pole, but he wasn't the leader even at the end of the first lap.
Yeah, that outside line was just so strong, it looked like, into turn 1 and 2. Add in the fact that Chatley might have been thinking, I need to stay on the outside, try to brake hard. It worked for the perfect recipe. One thing to note, though, in terms of the biggest mover so far in the early going, Charles Sumner has gained the most positions on the track with 5. He is now inside the top 10 after starting all the way back in 15th position.
Yeah, and I mean, it's something that we've actually seen from Sumner before, where he'll maybe start a little bit further to the back and he'll slowly pick his way through the field, and he'll kind of be there at the end. And another guy who's moved himself forward is Dan Mclaren as well. He started 13th, is up to 9th. So he's been moving his way forward, probably kind of in sync with Sumner, actually.
Lights are out on top of the pace car. 1 to go signal for these drivers. Again, Chatley is in control of the field. And Chatley, ever since he got that launch off of turns 1 and 2 at the green flag to start the race, he has led it and been able to control the tempo of this race. We'll see how he does here in towards this set of corners on our first restart here at ISM Raceway. Get in control of when he elects to go. It is a deep restart zone of this track. When will Chatley decide to go himself? He goes at the corner exit at turn 4. Green flag's up. We're back to racing for Phoenix.
I didn't think that was smart. He saw what happened on the initial start and didn't want to be vulnerable going into 1 there.
That's got him a car length and a half advantage over Haynes. Haynes with a great start, but Cervantes with a better one. Was able to get by Rachel Hunt on the outside up to P3. He tries to late break his way into turn 3. Can't get any ground gain, though, in the 29 quite yet. They're side by side, though, for the 5th and 6th position. Telez able to drive by Richter to hold on to that spot.
Yeah, we see a lot of guys already kind of funneling themselves down to single file already. They don't want to be the only guy stuck in a lane with everybody going by them. The guy who's the most impressive to me on the restart so far is definitely Cervantes. He's looked very aggressive, and he's moved his way up to 3rd already.
And Cervantes now still following along behind the 29 machine. This is the highest he has been so far. Last time was the fastest car on the racetrack. This time overshoots turn 1 a little bit. That loses him about a half a car length.
Now he's going to be maybe vulnerable to Hunt going into 3, although she looks a little bit too far back to do anything this time.
You can see on board as the caution flag is out on the racetrack. It's for Barron Hilton, the 13 machine. Getting turned by Adam Zemke coming out of the Dogleg brings up the second caution of the day. You see this a lot on the Dogleg. If drivers are trying to judge where others are going, you eventually have contact here, Christian.
Yeah, and as we saw, Holly's actually almost in amongst this as well, and it was quite close to being a 3 wide, and it gets a strange scenario in that Dogleg. The spotter calls can kind of actually mess you up a little bit, so we do see accidents happening in the Dogleg from time to time, and I think it's just unfortunate, and Hilton's kind of had a day that started off looking promising with a good qualifying in 7th, and yeah, now he's at the back with damage, so probably not having a great time right now.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage on that race car for sure, but here's the interesting deal with the timing of that caution flag. It is within that estimated window to maybe take 2, or in some cases, drivers staying out. Walter and Sumner and a few others have elected to stay out after that 7 lap or so run.
Yeah, and Haynes and Hunt stayed out as well, and that's kind of going to be really a really difficult deal for Chatley because he's given up the lead now, and he's one of only a few who've come down for tires.
A lot of drivers now back into the pit boxes. 5 total did stay out on the circuit, so we'll have to see how big this strategy call will be for those drivers. The fall-off has been pretty substantial in the early portion of these runs, but everyone else is coming off the pit lane. Chatley, Cervantes, Roberts, followed by Mclaren and Holly, rounding up the top 5 off the pit lane. However, Haynes, Hunt, Tellez, Sumner, and Walter are all going to be on old tires for this restart.
And the key thing here is how fast can the guys on new tires clear the guys that have stayed out, because it's not a it's not a set thing throughout the run. The advantage of the new tires will wear off, and it will wear off quickly. So if they can't clear themselves and get to the lead, maybe within 10 laps, I'm going to wager that they're not going to be able to do so.
That's actually a great point because I double-checked. It was 4 laps distance, about give or take, on the set of tires. And the tires we have seen, if you've raced throughout this entire week, Christian, they have equalized, it seemed, within 15 laps. So we'll see if these 5 drivers can keep the track position or get a caution flag to get them back on even fresh tires. We'll have to wait and see as they all are behind the pace car. Rachel Hunt, though, looking to try and attack on the high side, and we've seen how strong that was when Rob Haynes had to start on the inside as the pole sitter to start the race.
Yeah, and this is absolutely an opportunity for people like Hunt, Tellez, and Sumner to really kind of cement themselves at the front of this race, because if they can hold on and defend against these guys on new tires for even as we were saying, 10, 15 laps, it's not that long of a time, and they'll really be able to do something here.
It looks like Danny Cervantes might be thinking that it might be the worst case scenario. He's elected to come down a second time and go to the back of the field here as they line up behind the pace car with the 1 to go signal. Here's the risk, though, when it comes to the staying on the old tires here. Well, it's been only a couple laps. There's the chance that a lot of the newer tire drivers stack up behind them as they try and fight for position in the Dogleg.
Exactly, and that's where if you're one of the people who've stayed out on tires, on old tires, that is, you have to have that cushion behind you, because if you don't, then you're right in the danger zone. So really, it's Sumner and Walter who are kind of the key to whether this will work for those who've stayed out, and also the key to the guys on new tires is if they can clear them.
Pace cars now in turns 3 and 4. When will Rob Haynes elect to go is the question. As the pace car runs its way out of turn number 4, Rob Haynes back in control of the field, elects to go early as the green flags back out. And a horrible start for Walter, the 3rd driver on the bottom, as Haynes pulls away by 2-3 car lengths.
Yeah, Haynes knows what's up here. He knows that he needs to go, and the more everybody behind him fights, the better a chance he's going to have to hold on here on his tires.
Tellez trying to battle side by side with Hunt. Here comes Chatley, though, on the first 4 tires. Can't go in the inside. Elects to keep it side by side as they still fight for second.
You he's got McLaren right behind him as well. And McLaren's looking really racy right now.
Yeah, McLaren had to check up twice for Chatley. Chatley trying to give some space to the 24 machine on that corner entry. Hunt able to get to second on the high side. Tellez trying to block the inside, trying to force him and Sumner still side by side as they fight for position.
You see Holly's actually moving himself back into this fight as well. He's only a couple of car lengths behind McLaren here.
Forward on board with McLaren as he tries to follow the hole. Chatley now able to clear Sumner as Holly is behind Walter. Chatley able to get much deeper on the brakes on the fresher tires. Gains a couple tenths. Sumner stuck on the high side, now fighting with McLaren. But keep an eye on Holly. You see him now trying to get to the inside of the 99. Able to do so as he tries to work his way back up to the field after that pit road mistake on the first caution of the race.
We're seeing these guys on new tires. They're having to be really, really aggressive to make these moves work, and we can already kind of see that it's starting to equalize out already, even this early on. And Chatley's he's still making some progress, but he's got to get past Tellez as soon as he can, and right now he's not in a position to make that pass yet.
Still following along with the group of drivers, including Holly, as he tries to ride the yellow line. Sumner can't stick that line, however, on the older tires. It was a 0.2 of a second difference between Holly and that blue Ford and Sumner and that white, red, and green Chevrolet. He gives up the spot and drops to 6th position. Fight is on though for P3. Tellez now under attack, as you said, by Chatley, and Chatley looks hungry trying to use the bottom. He also has McLaren though behind him.
Yeah, Chatley knows he needs to get this done because he's got McLaren moving up and Holly as well, and to make this strategy work, he needs to clear Tellez maybe in the next 2 to 3 laps.
And this could be important, especially with the potential fall off right now. The difference between them about a 1/10 of a second a lap at the moment. Last time by, Tellez was actually quicker than the 59 machine. We'll see what Chatley does while McLaren gets loose in the dogleg. Fights to save it as he nearly gets hit. We're still green as the whole field misses the 73.
A huge moment there. He was so lucky not to get into the inside wall and so lucky to not get collected as well. A great save.
Yeah, you can see right there trying to keep it off the wall. Bobbles like crazy. Ends up saving it. Nearly got hit by Walter. And we stay green. He did tap that right front on the wall, and that's where that tightness comes in we were talking about with the setup, especially right there. It's a major difference. As you can see, the fight now still on for P3.
Chatley looks like he might have it done this time, but Tellez still holding on the outside just about. He's going to be there on the entry to 3, and Holly's going to be looking as well.
Well, Holly elects to take a 3 or stay 2. No, he elects to stay behind the 59. Trying to follow the Pied Piper along the yellow line. Tellez, though, fighting hard on the preferred line on the corner exit for the pass. He'll get P number 3 at the stripe, but he is not giving up. Tellez, he's not sacrificing his position. He fought very hard there for full 5 laps. Chatley, though, finally gets clear.
Yeah, it looked like Tellez just drove slightly too deep into one then, had to really pull it up and just had no exit speed that time, and now he's got Holly trying to make the pass on him as well.
How long will Holly take to pass him though? It took Chatley, as mentioned, 4 or 5 laps. Holly tries to set it in deep on the inside. Tellez about a half a car length up the racetrack from him in terms of lanes. He is still fighting hard on those older tires. The lap times have evened out. But the thing is, when it comes to older tires, that slight bit of difference in the lap cycle can still make it a bit difficult to defend.
Yeah, absolutely, and it gives you a little bit more options as the attacking car in terms of placement too. We might see Holly, well, Tellez has driven way up the racetrack there. Holly's definitely going to clear him into 3 this time.
And Holly does clear him actually into the dog leg. So move Holly up to P number 4. So the 2 fastest cars on 4 tires at the moment in the field are in Ps 3 and 4. Right now they have to close about 1.3 seconds though to get to the 2nd place car. That just so happens to be the fastest one on the circuit. Rachel Hunt is closing a 10th a lap on Rob Haynes right in front of this battle.
And I think we can definitely say at this point that the tires have equalized out, and now it's back to kind of the status quo, and it's going to be really hard for these guys to pass again. I think Holly's a little bit quicker than Chatley though right now.
Falling on board meanwhile with Rachel Hunt, the second place driver. Last time closed up by a couple 100ths of a second. And it just looks like Rachel Hunt is showing a bit of that comfortability she showed in practice for tonight's race, especially a bit on the long run. Able to take it in much more deeper on the brakes compared to Haynes, but still carry that speed off the corner exit, especially off turn 4.
Yeah, we saw Haynes put down a really good qualifying time, and Rachel was third, but perhaps not as good as she showed in terms of practice pace, and now is really kind of showing the true raw pace that she had here by being the quickest car out of these two.
Yeah, by the way, Holly was able to get the fastest lap last time by in that battle still for P number 3 as she's still looking to battle for the race lead. Hunt has closed it down, but now Hunt is inside the dirty air of that orange and silverish 29 machine, which means it's going to become much more difficult. That time Hunt pushes up the track off turn 1 and 2.
Yeah, we kind of saw her trying to offset the line a little bit, running really, really low in a 1, and then on exit ended up really high, and kind of in 3 and 4, just matching Haynes that time, but I suspect we'll see different lines coming in again soon.
P number 3 has changed hands, by the way. Bradley Holly was able to get by Chatley. That's after Chatley let him on go in the dogleg. So move Holly up a position. It's still about an 0.8 of a second gap between them and Rachel Hunt. About 1.7 seconds to Rob Haynes on the racetrack. But Holly, he's a-coming.
Yeah, and I think this will really show us how much those new tires still have that advantage as to how much Holly can run down Hunt and Haynes now.
That time closed the gap by about a 10 just from making that swap alone. He was 0.2 quicker than the 59. He was also the fastest car on the racetrack overall. So Holly, we mentioned, might be saving a little bit of the tires for the mid to long run. Showing that speed here on this run now as he tries to still run that bottom line off of turn 4. Behind him, Chatley nearly pushed up into the fence.
Yeah, Chatley's really struggling now and kind of showing us something that perhaps we'd seen in that initial run where even though he was the leader, he was bunching him up behind him, and it just doesn't look like he's got the long run pace as some of the others out here.
Now here's going to be the question though. What's going to happen with some of these battles such as this one? Because Charles Sumner, he's now caught up to Tellez. Remember, Tellez fought so hard to not let the fresher tire drivers go. Tellez, though, compared to everyone else behind him in this conga line, he's braking much more earlier by about 10 feet compared to every other car lined up behind him at the moment in this battle.
Yeah, and he's starting to stack him up behind him as well, and I think if there's the possibility of a caution coming out, it's going to be in this battle. And somebody that we've not really spoke much about since the pit stops is Danny Cervantes. We saw him come down later than everybody else, right before the green came out. And I'm wondering if he's actually the only driver out here good on fuel.
That's actually a good question because the fuel was very tight. The time of the restart, everyone else might be close. Speaking of close, that race lead has closed up to 0.2 of a second again. Hunt trying to charge the inside of turn 1. And here we got to the back bumper of Rob Haynes. Actually gained some time by digging in that time.
And looking down into the dogleg as well, trying to get just a little bit of overlap there into 3. Not working that time, and I think Hunt knows that she needs to get it done soon because Holly is definitely catching them now.
Holly again was the fastest car on the racetrack last time by in a 27 flat. Holly again faster. Hunt is also now faster than Rob Haynes by 1/10 of a second. Hunt trying to get to the outside, keeping it high on the dogleg. Can she outbrake Haynes to get to the corner panel? Yes, but can't carry the speed up the banking a touch.
Might have a really good run off though, and an opportunity on the bottom into 1 perhaps.
Will she take it inside? Will she send it? Yes, she does. Rob Haynes gives Hunt the spot. So move Rachel Hunt to the race lead for the time being. But Bradley Holly is there while they now fight heading into turn number 3. Haynes now has the inside. Elects not to send it, though, on the bottom side of the racetrack, as the blue Ford Mustang has caught up to the draft of Haynes.
Yeah, now this is crucial for Hunt to try and get away whilst Haynes holds off Holly for as long as possible in her case. Obviously, Holly knows that Hunt was quicker and is now going to get away if he doesn't clear Haynes as quickly as he can.
The North Star Title Company machine trying to ride higher up on the entry. Haynes matching the line this time, but there's a bit of a difference compared to how Haynes can handle off the corner here in turn 4 to Holly. Holly able to hang more on the gas, it appears, off the corner compared to what Haynes can do.
Yeah, I think that's those tires, and that's just going to allow Holly a little bit more movement. And if he can get this done maybe in the next 2 to 3 laps, I think he's definitely going to have a shot to get back to Hunt and maybe make a pass for the lead.
Still. By the way, that battle for P5 has turned into near side-by-side in 2 different rows. Tellez is really holding up these group of cars right now. He is in the 27 4s. Compare that to the counterparts in the same tire cycle. Those drivers were in the 27 1s to 3s. So Sumner, along with Eric Roberts, Brandon Walter, Pat Harvey, Danny Cervantes, all stuck in this train of cars with nowhere to go behind this 24.
Yeah, he's really holding him up now as we see a contact off of 4.
Crashing down the front stretch. Caution flag comes out. Sumner, Harvey, Cervantes involved. Zemke crashes in. McLaren hits the wall as we're back under the yellow flag.
Parking lot on the front stretch right now, and the road is closed. Nobody can go through.
And that is a majority of the back half of the field in this incident. And you called it. You were expecting the crash to come from that battle for 5th position on back. It did down that front stretch.
Yeah, it looked like it looked like Tellez just got tight to the wall, and Sumner was really close up on him, and Tellez got a bit of a snap and collected Sumner.
Let's take a look on board for Tellez. And you can tell he might have burned the right front a bit, but boom! Hits that wall. That involves contact from behind. Keeps off the inside wall, but severe right side damage as they all piled up behind him.
And really unfortunate for all the guys behind that. I mean, there's no way you can go. It's the worst place to be behind a wreck at this racetrack. You've got walls right to the track edge both times, and as we saw there, the road is just completely closed, and there's nothing you can do.
And that involved about half the field in that incident too, so that is a big caution. That'll help a couple drivers, but drivers like Harvey, McLaren, Sumner, Zemke, Eric Roberts now have severe damage as they're all under the pit stops. This is a big one, though, for drivers like Rachel Hunt, because she was able to hold on to the race lead on the older tires because of the time of the caution flag, even though Holly had just taken second spot.
Yeah, and this is going to be a complete reset for all those on the offset tires, because everybody now is going to take 4, and it's worked out brilliantly for Hunt, really, because now she's got the tires that she needs and she can have a straight fight with Holly.
Off the pit lane this time, Rachel Hunt comes out first, and it appears Rob Haynes in the battle for second spot, able to beat Holly. Off the pit lane, Chatley behind them, Tellez, Walter, Bashant Jr., Dreckman, Richter, and Harvey. Sumner did stay out this past time by to try and make sure he can get as much time as he could to fix that 98 that has no front end for Whataback Racing, but that was an interesting one. That wreck involving at least 5 or 6 drivers, including Cervantes, who you were talking about, might have been good on the fuel. Now everyone's good on the fuel.
Yeah, and that's the risk in that kind of strategy. You could see it in how aggressive he was being in that group. He knew that that if a yellow came out, that it was gonna end any chance that he had, and unfortunately he did a great job of not causing one, not being over aggressive, but the yellow just came to him, and he was involved in it.
Coming to 46 laps to go this time by, and the entire trends of this race now going to be a bit upside down here. Your thoughts as we head towards the home stretch. Currently, there is an estimated about 25 minutes or so to go on that timer as well.
Well, we've seen that we can have long green flag runs, and it wouldn't surprise me if this does go green to the end from here. I think we're looking at a straight fight between Hunt and Holly, if I'm honest, and I think what's going to make or break it is how far out ahead. I believe that Hunt is stronger on the short run here, and how far out ahead she can get to kind of build that gap, maybe just large enough that Holly, when he does get there, he's not going to have the tire, he's going to have the aero push. She needs to get the gap early on when the advantage is with her, so that it's as hard as possible for Holly when he gets there to make any kind of pass.
Agree with you on that one. As the one to go signals on the track, we did see a couple wave around drivers such as Hunter. We also see Mclaren just come out of the pit lane finishing up repairs. Once again, it is Rachel Hunt in control of the field in first, Haynes in second, Chatley Holly third and fourth, Telez and Brendan Walter, the car you're on board with, RNPs 5 and 6. Rashad Jr. and Dreckman round out the top 8 as they work their way towards the restart zone. We have seen each time the restarts come from right here. Rachel Hunt off and away as the green flags back out. The Area 51 machine leads them back into turn 1.
It was crucial there that Holly wasn't able to get under Haynes and take that second place early on, and now I think that the advantage is definitely with Hunt, because Haynes is going to be hard to pass for Holly on this run with him having equal tires.
Back into turns 3 and 4, Haynes tries to gain ground to the bottom. However, he has been struggling off that corner exit all race long. Holly gains some ground. First fight side by side is between Telez and Walter. Remember, Telez does have that aero damage on the right side of the car. Walter tries to ride the inside. His car is all clean in that fight behind the race leaders.
And Haynes has made a little mistake in the 1, and it's allowed Holly to get by him. He's going to clear him off of 4 here, I think.
Side by side, this is for second position. Haynes gets the run on the high side. Holly, though, the preferred line into turn 1. Haynes tries to arc it up high. Holly tries to squeeze him up the racetrack. Fights down to the Dogleg as he gets the run. Clears on by the 29, heading into turn 3.
Yeah, very aggressive move there by Holly, but I think he knew what we did, and that if he lets Hunt get out front, he's not going to be able to catch her.
The ETC machine moves back to third, but Holly now tries to focus. Was the fastest car last time by, despite even with that pass in the 25.8. You mentioned that difficulty in the dirty air to try and get by Rachel Hunt. It's going to get curious to see what Holly tries to do. We talked about drivers trying to change up the lines. Holly that time uses a bit of the apron to try and get a run.
Yeah, we saw him really, really low there, just getting a little bit more rotation, and Hunt actually made a mistake in a 1 on the last time by, and again, so just looking a little bit higher than Holly that time. He's looking a lot better at that end of the circuit.
Holly trying to focus on the draft to get a bit of a pull into the corner. Hunt, though, takes the entry of 3 and 4 a bit higher, comes back down, causes the bobble. There are clouds now above the racetrack, though, a little bit. The track temperature hasn't changed, however, yet. It's still at 98 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's staying quite consistent for them, even with the time and the cloud cover change, and we'll have to see if that affects them really kind of right at the end of the race, whether it'll cool down a little bit from now on.
Yeah, this is going to get interesting now with the clouds above the sky. It's still 82 degrees air depth. You see up on the graphic. Rachel Hunt still leads, but now falling on board with the 184 machine. He has been trying to run low off the exit of turn 2, avoid that outside wall all day. However, even run that time to the Dogleg. They have pulled away, though, from Haynes and Chatley in this fight. They're the 2 fastest cars as the caution flag is back out. It's for Pat Harvey and the Dogleg in the 67. And remember that wall I just mentioned about 5-10 seconds ago, Christian? He hit it and spun around for the caution.
Yeah, he's lost the entire front end of the car there, and that's heavy damage.
I believe he lost the front end in that big-time wreck down the front stretch last yellow. But you can see right there, very tight and just plows the outside safer barrier.
Yeah, and it's easy to do with a clean car, and with a damaged car, it's even easier. So I've got sympathy with him for how that unfolded. it's a pretty common error to make, and unfortunately brought the yellow out. It was down on the apron. I'm actually kind of surprised it did bring it out.
Well, technically, that's part of the racing surface when you think about Phoenix. It's a bit different here at ISM Raceway. But we are now seeing everyone come down to the pit lane except for Bichon Jr., who ducked out at the last moment to get the lead lap point. Eric Roberts also stays out. So everyone's back down with 37 to go this time by.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that he stayed out there. I was actually about to comment on how good a run he's had, and he was running well into the top 10, and he's decided to stay out, and he's going to lose all his track position. It seems... I understand getting the game for the lap led, but he's losing a lot of track position by making that call.
He was going a bit backwards, I should note a little bit. He was letting cars go the last run. This time, the run of the pits, though. Hunt comes out first, and I'm going to be curious to see what Holly's condition is because he got a great launch on Haynes. Rob Haynes, I think, forgot to put it to first, might have exited the pits in second gear, and just gave Holly's second spot.
Yeah, looked like that pole stall didn't really work out quite so good that time for Haynes, and he restarts third though, which is sometimes better than restarting second.
As expected, Bichon Jr. did duck down to the pit lane this past time by, as you see the drivers work their way down the front stretch, but this is going to get curious now. At the moment, this race has seen a lot of drivers with damage, but there's still 16 cars technically on the lead lap that have a shot in this race, coming to 35 laps to go this upcoming time by, and drivers that have even had severe damage, like Tellez with that right side, have still been able to keep their cars up towards the front.
Yeah, Tellez has done a great job of holding on to the track position that he has, and I think he knows that he's not really going to go forwards from where he is, but he can definitely stop himself from losing it out. And it requires him to be quite aggressive with his defense. And I think it sounds strange to say it, but sometimes kind of forcing aggressive racing, especially when you've got a damaged car, is actually in your interest, especially when it comes to yellows. And you don't want long runs with a damaged car. That's the thing.
Here's the thing, though, and I'm curious about this as a counterpoint. What if the damage is affecting you on the restarts and it ends up coming back to you on the long run? What's your perspective from that end?
That I have seen that happen. That's happened to me a couple of times before. From my perspective, though, especially when it comes to short tracks, if you've got damage, the best thing you can hope for is even more chaos and more damage. It sounds strange, but if you know that you don't have the car anymore, then really it's up to fate to sort of decide your finishing position.
I mean, it makes sense to me because one of the cars that might need chaos, Charles Sumner. Remember that points graphic at the pre-game race show? They were separated by 10 points between him and Rob Haynes for second in for the season standings. Right now, that 98 machine is currently severely damaged with no front end. Might need some chaos to try and hope to keep that gap around what he wants. Rachel Hunt, off on the gas, gets the gap that Rachel wants for the green flag.
We see Haynes was not really able to make anything happen on the bottom there. Holly got a really good run through 1 and 2, and he's actually going to be almost a Hunt's bumper going into 3.
Holly trying to use the higher line, Hunt trying to defend the bottom line. Both drivers slide up the banking a touch. As they come back out of turn 4, Rachel Hunt once again leads the lap. 33 laps to go from ISM Raceway. Top 2 have now pulled away a bit from the 29 of Haynes.
It looks like Holly's again better through 1 and 2. Just doesn't wash up the track as much on exit like Hunt does.
Still trying to gain ground as Holly. Remember, Holly's been stronger after 5 or 10 laps than most of the field. This time dead even with Hunt off the corner exit. Within the same 100th of a second, he was faster though, 25.704. That was the fastest lap for Holly all race so far.
Yeah, and he's really pushing. He was the closest to the wall coming off of 2 that he's been all race right there.
And remember, Holly has won 6 of the 8 previous rounds coming into tonight. Looking to add an extra trophy to the case. in what has been a banner season. Caution flag is out, and it's another one down the front stretch. Pat Harvey in a third straight yellow flag gets involved along with Sumner as well as the 97. Bashad Jr. though was the cause of it though, as he crashed along the front stretch. We'll take a look at the GSRC replay because Bashad Jr. was trying to run that high line and then ba-bam, hits the fence.
Yeah, again, just misjudged it there, and same as we saw last time when there's a wreck on the front stretch. There's nowhere for anyone behind you to go.
And right now, that was a fight with Eric Roberts, by the way. I think Bashad Jr. might have just misjudged how close he was getting to the wall off the corner, smacked it, and just went around as he pinged off of Eric Roberts. But the bad thing is, what happened for the rest of the cars? They didn't know there was a car stopped against the wall.
Yeah, I mean, they came around running the top, and just nowhere really for them to go until it was too late to do anything about it. I don't think it's really going to affect them too much, if I'm honest. Those cars that were involved already had massive damage in the split decision on the pit stop here.
Tellez is the only car amongst the top 10 to come down the pit lane. Looks like he might have been juked out a little bit. This is going to get interesting now. Everybody else does stay out inside the top 10. Tellez is now going to be really deep in the field, losing all of his track position.
He is, but he's actually had good pace even with that damage, and with 4 tires we've seen him be really aggressive on the restarts, and he's going to obviously have to cut through a lot of cars, and we've seen it's difficult, but I think going from this point forwards, if he doesn't pit again until the end of the race and the others ahead of him might, then he might actually play himself into a top 5 here.
It looks like Tellez actually is going to repair some of the damage too, which is actually a good thing, I think, when you consider if there was all the other cars that came down the lane with him, he wouldn't have been able to get this damage repaired.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, that if you're pitting somewhat off sequence with other cars, you might as well take the opportunity to fix your own car if you do have damage, because he hasn't lost anything here. Well, he has, but no more than he would have done with a normal 4-tire stop there.
Lost about 6 positions overall from that, making about 5. And he's going to have fresher tires than everybody else in the entire field in front of him in this grouping. But again, Rachel Hunt is in control of the field. Holly, though, is in second. Haynes and Shatley third and fourth. Mike Richter quietly has been running inside the top 10 all races up to 5th. And Danny Cervantes, remember, he was involved a little bit in one of the caution flags in the 25, despite the severely damaged front end on the Class C Vape Company machine and the rear damage. The Hard Knocks Sim Sports machine is up to 6 again.
Yeah, and I'm actually surprised he wasn't one of the drivers that came down. He's probably got the most damage of anybody running as high as he is right now, and I think maybe that was an opportunity for him to come and get some of that fixed and get a set of tires. And we do have 15 on the lead lap, but a lot of damaged cars out there, so I would say realistically there's only about 10 cars at full speed right now.
Yeah, and that's not factoring in how many outside of those 10 might have engine damage, how much is aero. A lot to think about for these drivers, but the lights are on top of the pace car. And this might be an important restart here, I think, Christian, because Holly's now on the top side, and we're looking hard to try and make a move on Rachel Hunt, who has been in control of the lead ever since she got it about at the halfway point of this race.
Yeah, and he's been looking quite frustrated, to be honest. Every time he gets within striking distance of Hunt, a yellow comes out, and on the last restart he was more aggressive, and I think he's going to have to be even more aggressive now. He's got to snatch that lead before another yellow comes out.
Drivers making their way through turns 3 and 4 once again. Track temp the lowest it's been all race now at 96 degrees. As Hunt's going to stack up the field. Holly jumps it. Hunt hits the green flag. And that miscombobulated everybody that time.
Yeah, and I think that was Hunt trying to do something a little bit different, because she's gone to... Oh, there's
car
a wreck
spinning.
in one.
Trouble in turn 1. Caution flag is Mike Richter. Cervantes was also involved as they made contact on a dive bomb from the 51 to bring the yellow flag back out. We're going to take a look at this one, and it looked like Richter seen the hole, tried to fill it. Unfortunately, the hole shut just as he got there.
Yeah, we were just saying about how Richter's had quite a quiet night up until this point, and he just went in there, and it looked like Cervantes maybe was giving... There was just about a lane there, but I don't think he was expecting Richter to kind of roll up as much as he did.
Taking a look at this from the onboard as pow! Right in the left rear. Have to say, though, Richter's lucky to not be hit by those 2 or 3 cars on the outside line.
Oh, very. He somehow spun himself into a gap right there, and he's got a little bit of damage, but nothing like what some of the guys out there have got right now.
A few more takers into the pit lane this time compared to the last one. Mclaren electing to get some repairs done. Cervantes again. Zemke along with Sumner and Richter all jump down the pit lane here. But again, puts us behind the pace car, and it's going to be tight a bit on time. The laps click down here fast, yes. But we're coming to 23 laps to go. You have to wonder here, Christian, are you keeping an eye more on the lap counter at this point or the timer, or both?
I think if you're in the lead group, then you're probably looking at the timer and kind of hoping for this, because you go from doing 25-second lap times to something like 45-second lap times, so it definitely helps you, especially if you've got the old tires as well. And the guys at the back are probably hoping for the exact opposite. They're all focused on the laps and how it'll play out with restarts for them and what they can do with their tires, because the timer is really against them now.
Right now, the timer has an estimated about 10 minutes left on it, as they're still lined up behind the pace car here. And we have seen in situations where, say there's green white checkered, if we get to that point, it could be a one-lap shootout situation. There's a lot that can happen, though, between now and lap 105. 2 laps to go signal for the drivers behind the pace cars. The rest of the field catches up. At the moment, 14 drivers are still running. Your current drivers off the circuit, David Treckman, 5 laps down in the pit lane. Robert Shaw Jr., DNF. Barron Hilton still running 20 laps down. That's the rest of your grid. Peacock did not make the start tonight, so everyone's getting all sorted out for what could be another crucial restart, and Holly is probably hoping he doesn't nearly jump it like he did last one.
Yeah, like I was saying with that, I think Hunt had kind of gone at the same time every restart up until that point, and she'd made the decision that she was going to do something different because everybody was probably on board with when that was happening, and Holly kind of, he looked like he was sort of preempting the normal time when she'd gone, so I think it caught him out a little bit, and it did exactly what Hunt needed to do, which is to kind of get in his head a little bit that maybe she's not going to go at the same time every time.
It also looked like, though, too, that Hunt wanted to stack up the field knowing we're getting close on the timer, right? And they're on older tires compared to a couple of the drivers at the back of the field. She might have been thinking, if I can stack up the field, there's a higher chance of an incident, or a chance that carnage can ensue.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of those points which people can sort of debate the ethics of it and whatnot, but hey, we all know that that's the case, and especially if you've got old tires, you're at a tire disadvantage, it is in your interest to have a stack up occur on a restart.
We'll see if Hunt's going to stack them up this time. Tried it the last time. This time, she goes early. Green flag is back out. We're underway once again from ISM Raceway. And a great launch for the entire top 4 as Holly holds on to second for now. Haynes, as there's contact from behind, car still save it. Nicholas Hunter nearly went around to the 109.
And good job by everybody to get that gathered up. We could have had another yellow right there, and thankfully everybody sorted themselves out.
Leaders are still single file for the top 4 positions. Chatley was able to get to 4th position. Can Hunt hold on is the question. 18 laps to go, next time by 7:45 estimated time left for these drivers to make it to the checker flag. Holly trying to gain ground, trying to look for a 7th victory. In 9 rounds, can he make a move is the question.
We're looking just a little bit further back in the pack, and we've got Mclaren's making some really aggressive moves. He's trying to clear Tellez. He's got the best tires out of anybody right now, and he knows that this is an opportunity and he needs to go.
Drivers side by side in that position battle at the moment. Cervantes able to clear by, though, for P number 7 in the 25 machine. Again, he was one of the drivers who pit and got a bit of damage repaired under the last caution flag. Both of them were. As you keep an eye still on this battle, with 7 minutes to work with as they try and close up. Right now, they're about 2 seconds back from the lead.
And Holly looks like he's got still that advantage in 1 and 2 over Hunt that he's had before, and Hunt just looks like she drives in just slightly too deep every time, and Holly's really close right now. He's probably going to have an opportunity this time.
Hunt can't get the power down as well as Holly this time by. Holly looking to make a move to the inside on the bottom. Side by side in turn 1 and 2. Holly still gets the run. Hunt still side by side as they knock down the blue cone.
And I expect we'll see Holly all the way down to the yellow line here. Yep, he's got the left sides under, and Haynes is almost in the fight as well now, but Hunt holding on the top side, just not able to get the power down as well, though.
Hunt got tight, nearly plowed up to the wall. Holly tries to set it in. Can he get clear in the 184? Yes! New race leader, Bradley Holly. Battle is on for second, though, as Haynes now has a chance to battle Hunt. Hunt now back in the dirty air. Haynes trying to take advantage as they go back side by side.
Yeah, and Hunt being offline here. Looks like she's kind of really struggling to get back in a rhythm, and Haynes is trying to take advantage of that, but Hunt got a good run that time.
Hunt that time late breaks, able to get up to second, pushes up the corner, however. Haynes trying to get the run back. Can't push it off the corner, though. Question is now, can Hunt close up to Holly now? Holly's now grown the gap to 0.4 of a second with 13 laps to go this time.
I think it's potentially game over here. I think Holly's the better car in the long run. He's got the track position now. It's going to be really hard for Hunt to do anything. Looking a little bit further back, we see Cervantes is getting really racy, trying to get himself past Tellez and Walter, and nearly making contact in a 1 that time.
Let's head back towards that way if we can. As you look back now, this is again the battle for 5th on back. Walter nearly gets rammed by Tellez. Tellez forces his way to the inside. Walter able to squeeze. Every driver fighting for every last point on the racetrack. Tellez forced to the bottom. Cervantes looking more comfortable up on the top side. Remember, he has some fresher tires compared to some of the drivers in front of him.
Yeah, and this is really a fight to get into the top 5 here. Right now, Walter has it, but for how long, I don't know. Cervantes looks like he's down a little bit on straight line speed, but he has the tire, and it's giving him a great run off of 4 there.
Cervantes getting the run, moves up another spot to 6, making contact is Tellez. Caution is out, and this is going to be an interesting one with 4:10 on the clock. There's a chance we have only one more restart to this race, if that.
And this is exactly what Holly didn't want to see.
Let's take a look at the replay. And you can see it a little bit with how hard they were fighting. Tellez has been fighting very aggressively all race. And you see there the contact into turn 1 with Cervantes. Cervantes brings up the caution in the slide.
Yeah, and Tellez has been really aggressive with his defense, and Cervantes was being really aggressive trying to move his way through, so it's just one of those deals. It's a pure racing incident right there. It's just unfortunate that he brought the yellow out because he did actually have the car saved.
And you see Cervantes, the caution came out during the first attempt to save it, but had to loop it down and then push the gas as the rest of the field nearly came on by. Now, it's going to get very interesting how many laps exactly there are to go. There are about 3 minutes left on the clock, as most of the field electing to stay out with it being so tight to the end of this race. Richter does pit, though.
Yeah, and I think this is a scenario where, and we've seen it before, when it gets to these points of the race where it's tight on time and not so much the laps. The laps is pretty clear whether it'll be a green-white checkered or not, but the timer is seemingly a little bit inconsistent as to whether you're going to get a green-white checkered, a 1-lap shootout, or no restart at all. And I think it makes it difficult for people to decide what they're going to do with their pit strategy. And we see Richter came down for tires, but nobody else did.
Let's do some quick math. 55 seconds is the pace laps. Right now, there's about 2 minutes and 22 seconds on the clock. There's a chance we have a 1, maybe 2 lap shootout at the current estimates as Richter elects to get some of the damage repaired after getting some tires on his race car. This decision moves him all the way back to 13th position on the racetrack. Everybody else stayed out on the lead lap. There are 14 total that are on that cycle at the moment.
Yeah, I think Richter's really going to struggle to get anything out of this. I don't disagree with the call if more cars are to come down. I think there was an opportunity for guys in the top 5. If you can pull maybe 6 of the top 10 down with you, then there's an opportunity on even a one-lap shootout to make something happen and maybe steal the win. But with only one car and so many to pass, I don't see how he's going to pull this off.
Right now, there's about 1 minute, 30 seconds left on the timer, meaning this is going to get interesting once they get towards the restart zone because there's a chance they reach zeros as they come out of the dogleg on the 1 to go signal. So we'll have to keep an eye on this here. Holly is the leader at the moment. Hunt second, Haynes in third, Chatley and Walter round out the top 5. Telez, while in that side spin, was able to still hold on to 6th. Mclaren is in 7th. Eric Roberts, Adam Zemke, Nicholas Hunter, the top 10. Under a minute to go, estimated left on the timer as Holly brings them down the front stretch. We'll see what they get at the stripe this time by. They will get the 1 to go signal on the racetrack, but the estimate's going to be very tight. We'll have to see what flag they get, though, at the stand when they get back to green.
Yeah, it looks like it's definitely going to be at least a 1-lap shootout. Whether it'll be 2 laps or not, we don't know. We won't know until it goes green.
Right now, some of the estimates have just shuffled from as high as 5 down to a 1.5 to go situation on the circuit. This will mean the race will get to 100 laps total distance. What will these drivers do? A chance for a race victory on the line. Holly will be the control car. Hunt will be on the outside line of row number 1. What will these drivers do for a chance to win in the PRL Cup Series? Final lap is confirmed for the cars on the circuit as the pace cars off the track. To the green flag they go. Holly with a massive jump as the white flag now is up.
Now the question is, can Hunt hold on to the second? It looks like Haynes has cleared her, but will she have an opportunity going into 3? Looks like she's going to try and get to the bottom. No, chooses the top.
Hunt trying to fight for second spot. Still can't get to the outside of Rob Haynes, but for Bradley Holly, it's been a season of dominance. The 184 wins again for the 7th time. He'll take the checkered in the PRL Cup Series. Hunt able to get second on the high side from Haynes. Chatley and Telez round out the top 5.
Hunt just got a really good drive off of 4 there and just cleared Haynes by the flag.
And let's take a look at that. This is as Holly took the checker flag, and Hunt was just able to get enough power down to zoom on by the quarter panel of the 29 of Haynes to take the second spot.
Yeah, it looked like Haynes just didn't really get the power down at all coming off of 4 there, and Hunt with a huge run on the top side.
So Bradley Holly gets to celebrate another victory with his teammates in what was a very interesting race tonight here at ISM Raceway. His teammates demolished the car, but he'll get a chance to get the trophy regardless. His 7th victory of the season. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your post-race coverage for tonight's event for the PRL Cup Series. You're watching the Global SimRacing Channel from the virtual ISM Raceway in Avondale, Arizona. Welcome back, everyone, to ISM Raceway for tonight's coverage of the PRL Cup Series. Tonight, Bradley Hawley, it took him some time to get to the lead, but in the end, the points leader and the championship clinching driver took home win number 7 of the season by 6/10 of a second over Rachel Hunt in a one-lap shootout. Rob Haynes finished in third with Brendan Shatley in fourth. Jose Tellez rounded out the top 5 this evening. Brandon Walter, he was up and down throughout the grid this evening in strategy. Tonight, though, he came away 6th, with Dan McLaren and Adam Zemke in 7th and 8th. Mike Richter finished off in 9th spot, with Pat Harvey rounding up the top 10 finishing positions, Christian.
Yeah, and then we had Danny Cervantes. He had a pretty interesting night. Started 5th, unfortunately came home 11th, was involved in a late race incident, and a couple of others tonight. They had a really promising run apart from that, though. Nicholas Hunter came home 12th. Didn't really talk about him much tonight. Charles Sumner, again, involved in a wreck early on, but he had been running high up until that unfortunate wreck on the front stretch. Then Eric Roberts was 14th. David Dreckman, 15th, 14 laps down. Barron Hilton started good, but unfortunately went badly for him early on. Comes home 16th. Robert Bisor, again, another driver, had a promising night, but unfortunately finished 25 laps down in 17th.
The rest of the drivers did not make the start tonight. Frank Pishak amongst those drivers. That's a look at your finishing results. But Bradley Hawley once again conquered them all for his 7th victory in 9 races. A man that has been red hot from the drop of the green flag for season number 4. Bradley, it took some work tonight. How are you feeling?
I was feeling good. I just worked on the long run to make sure that I had pace there. I wasn't too concerned about short run, and as it showed at the beginning of the race and on any after fresh tires. But once tires wore out, I got faster and everybody else slowed down.
Yeah, I was going to say, tire wear seemed to be a major focus point for tonight, along with the aero. How difficult was it to try and save tires while trying to make sure you can keep on going forward? Because parts of this race tonight, you were feeling tons of pressure from the back end.
Oh, it was real tough. I mean, with just the flat surface of this track, I mean, and how hard you had to drive these cars. I mean, it was tough, but a lot of fun.
One thing I do want to ask is the fight involving Rachel Hunt. It took you a while to get your first lead laps of the race tonight, especially with the pit mistake on the first yellow flag. First of all, talk about the recovery to try and move your way back up to the field while trying to save the tires, and then that fight to take the race victory before the final yellow flag.
Well, the pit mistake, I just blinded by Rachel, so I went in a little too aggressive and cost me some spots, and once I realized that my mistake, I saw I had some damage, so went ahead and fixed that, and just honestly just took my time getting through the field. I knew if I drove the car into the corner a lot harder, like a lot of people were, I was going to kill the right front. And I'd much rather drive off than sending it in and killing my exit speed. So that's what I focused on throughout the week, and that's basically what helped me get this win tonight.
Now, of course, not only that, with you making the start tonight, you've unofficially won the Season 4 championship according to the points totals at the moment. Holly, how would you describe your whole season from an overall perspective? And what is 99%, I should say, a championship season?
I'm just trying to stay consistent. That's my biggest thing. If I can keep myself in a position to win, I feel like I can always steal a win from somebody. Like, I'm sure I have in the past. But just keeping the car clean and making sure I'm not getting into shenanigans on the track. So that's my biggest thing. And the Waterback guys help me out a lot too with working with me and talking to see what they feel in the cars. I try to figure out what the best strategy will be.
In the end, currently unofficially the championship, give you the official crown. It appears at the moment, depending on how things work out, at Homestead. Speaking of Homestead, your thoughts on that circuit?
I love that track. That's a multi-groove. From what we saw in the peak race, it looks like we could potentially have some really good racing there. Hopefully, we get some long green flag runs there and have some great battles.
I'm sure Christian will have something to say on that point. But on that note, though, is there anyone you want to thank in regards to your victory tonight?
I'd like to thank you guys first off for broadcasting our league. Y'all do a great job every week, and I'd like to thank Waterback and all those guys for working with, being my teammates and having some fun, and then North Star Title for sponsoring me this year.
Thank you very much for the time. Go celebrate that win and go answer that message. You've won a 7th race in 9 events. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
That was Bradley Hawley coming away with another victory on the campaign. The man who finished in 3rd is now standing by with Christian Challenger. It's Rob Haynes, the pole sitter for this evening.
Rob, night started off really good. You started with the pole, but kind of not unraveled, so to speak. You were featured at the top 5 the whole race, but looked like you were maybe just a little bit off in terms of raw pace to really get it done tonight.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, Christian. That was it. I was off just a little bit. Car was great all night. Track felt good. Just maintaining that track position through a lot of cautions is a little bit of a challenge sometimes. But also that first pit stop, that pole position pit stall, that helps you. Got out a couple times there in front of Brad, and good race for Brad and Waterback. Congrats to him and Rachel there coming out of 3, man. I learned a lesson there coming out of 3 and 4. I will not hug that white line on the last lap ever again.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask about that, and you kind of answered that question for me right there. Yeah, it's something that we see. You can get a really good run on the top side, and it's a good defensive line and an offensive line on a restart as well. But yeah, it looked like it was really difficult to pass tonight, and we saw a lot of guys kind of struggling with that and getting caught in stack-ups and whatnot. Do you mind kind of explaining a little bit about sort of the problems that you encounter when you're running really close behind someone here?
Yeah, I mean, you get the aero push. You don't know their breaking points specifically, and that can be a challenge because you don't want to get into the back of them, and you don't want to fall too far behind because then they're going to get the run off the corner and down the backstretch, and it's just a really tough place. Diving in the corner can work, but I think we've seen as a couple of cautions earlier that it doesn't work all the time, and tough to get a run off the corner, and you got to get that guy while he's in the corner, and because if you come off side by side, you're not going to have a chance. You just don't have the speed.
Yeah, it was something that we saw for most of the night. A lot of the moves looked like they were really aggressive, and like you say, if it came off side by side, it was really hard to pull it off. Now, a track where you can have a lot of side by side racing, where we're going to next, is Homestead. I really like the track. What are your thoughts on it?
I don't know. I've never been too successful there, Christian, but I'm willing to learn, and the more I can learn about the track, the better. The more I can run there, the better. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll give a couple of shout outs here because I need to, and shout out to Global SimRacing Channel. Thanks for what you guys are doing, and hope the fans enjoyed the race. Shout out to Brennan Chatley. Let me run the CTC car, and had a good time tonight. And man, congrats to Brad and Rachel. Brad and Rachel there. They had a good race.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming and joining us for the interview, and good luck next week for Homestead, and good luck if you come back for next season as well.
Appreciate it, Christian. Thanks very much, and thanks to PRL as well. Appreciate it.
Once again, that was Rob Haynes with Christian Challenger for that time. Thank you very much to Rob Haynes and Bradley Hawley for their time to speak with us here in the broadcast booth tonight. And it was referred to a little bit there by Hawley in his interview in regards to Homestead. Your thoughts going into the final race of season number 4 at what was a thrilling racetrack in terms of racing in the Peak Series this year?
I personally really like Homestead. It's one of those tracks where it always kind of widens out. We see guys running not so much right on the wall anymore, but at least a lane up from the normal, and we see guys all the way down to the white line. And for me, it's one of the best mile-and-a-half racetracks in terms of racing. And even with this lower power package, it stayed so. And we saw in the Peak Series race, it was really, really good as well. And I think it'll be a lot of fun to see these guys race there next week.
I think so too. It's one of my favorite mile and a halves as well, especially as you mentioned the different lines that the drivers are going to take. It's going to be an interesting one to wrap up season number 4 for the PRL Cup Series. But I'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's exciting action. You're from ISM Raceway. We'd also like to thank the Precision Racing League for organizing this strong series and what has been a strong campaign for drivers such as Bradley Hawley, who currently unofficially is your season 4 title man. We'd like to thank the companies that also provide our software and hardware. Our broadcast listed now up on your screen now. Additional thanks to Jude Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team once again today as well, and Christian and Sean. If you'd like to find out about GSRC, including the upcoming races on the calendar, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, if you'd like to help support the channel, you can check out our merchandise for sale at gsrc.storenvy.com, or check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, also on Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, one word, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head over to our YouTube page and hit the big red subscribe button, as well as the notification bell, so you don't miss a moment here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Once again, the next race on the calendar is at Homestead-Miami to wrap up season number 4, where the drivers look to battle for one last chance at victory and glory. You can also find the upcoming races for the other series listed now up on your screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.